Hey guys, welcome to Mind Over Matter, the mental game of student athletes. My name is John. I have Mel and Chris here. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Yeah, so I'm Chris. I'm a pitcher on the baseball team. I'm a junior, and I'm an economics and political science double major.
I'm Mel. I am a pitcher on the softball team, and I am a geoscience major as well.
Nice. Both pitchers. Be good. The first question I want to ask today is, what's one moment of challenge or hidden struggle that stands out to you in your life as a student athlete? How'd you navigate it? Are you still navigating it? Did you learn anything about yourself?
Yeah, I think this might be a little sport specific, but and we're both pitchers, so we can kind of both speak to this. But in baseball and softball, it's a sport of failure.
Yeah.
You know, if you're a hitter and you fail 70% of the time, you're still a very, very good hitter. But for pitchers, there's kind of a different look to it. You know, so if you have a really bad game, it can throw off all your stats. You can affect the whole course of the whole game. You know, you got 8 guys relying on you, a whole bullpen behind you that's also relying on you. So you got a lot of weight on your shoulders. So I think for me, something that's really helped is just being able to kind of have a support system of guys that are in the same boat, guys that I know have my back. I think we've done a really great job as a team this year, focusing on the team as a group and not just the individual. And that's it. That's not a moment, but it's always good to know. Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to know, even if you slip up, which happens, that you got a really good group of guys that have your back.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can totally agree with that. And going off of that, I think it's really important, especially like that the pitcher catcher connection that we have. You know, she or he is the only one in front of you actually, and everybody's behind you. So always having that visual support is always really, really important. I think one kind of failure that I went through, and I was not really a failure, but a hardship that I went through was when I transferred here. The entire process as a whole, you know, the realization that I had to transfer and the process of transferring, and then the third one is the adjustment of coming here and having that adjustment. I think that was like a really, really difficult time, and I grew from what I learned from that, and I think that I am still going through it, and I think not every day, but I think every moment is still an adjustment so far, even though I have been here for a full year now.
Yeah.
So I think that is a really important part of my life that is where I am today and who I am today because of it. So
Exactly that it impacted you. Any reasons or challenges you faced during that process? I know it could be pretty hard trying to find a new home after you found it. You
Yeah.
thought you found it.
So I picked I found 3 S's were my most important thing: school, softball, social.
Nice.
And social meaning, you know, like my friends and who I'm close with and who I have connections with. And I am very, very close with all of the friends that I met at Ithaca, and that was definitely a significant factor that contributed to my decision. I just simply didn't want to leave them. They're my best friends still, and that was a big factor. Second one, or the first most important one, is school, obviously. So academically, I wanted to be at the best institution that I could, and I wanted to be pushed, and I felt that Union has a great, strong academic core that will give me the requirements that I need for my major. And third, softball is a huge part of my life. I mean, I've been playing since I was 4. I mean, I'm sure you understand. I've been pitching since I was 8.
Yeah.
So it's all that I know in the athletic world, and I wanted to keep playing, and I was motivated to find an institution that I could find all 3. I could find a great group of friends. I could find a great academic atmosphere as well as an athletic atmosphere. So that really helped me, and it motivated me to try and find a better spot for me that I needed.
That's great that you were able to find Union as a better place to be. I can't imagine how it feels trying to, find somewhere else and navigate that. It's a
Yeah,
really tough challenge
absolutely.
that I guess not a lot of people think of.
Yeah.
Going when you have to think about schooling itself, social life, and then a sport on top of it. That's really a lot. Like you're just opening those doors again to really look into what school.
Absolutely.
The big decision.
Yeah.
But Next thing I want to get into is time management. Being a student athlete is very difficult. Being at Union College is a highly academic school, like you said before. And how do you find yourself handling it coming into school from high school to college? Is it a difficult transition? How are you dealing with it now?
My high school was pretty rigorous. I'd get there at 8:30 in the morning and school all day, and then sports. I was a 3-sport athlete in high school. JV basketball, though. I don't know if I'm counting that.
Count it.
Yeah, and then whatever extracurriculars after. But it's definitely different in college. I think it's more intense. For me, my freshman fall was a huge wake up.
Yeah.
I only had class Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 1. That was nuts for me. That was crazy. I was always, I'll do it later. I got time.
Yeah.
I'll do it later. I got time. And then later came, and it was, oh my God, I didn't do it. So with baseball at that point, that wasn't a huge deal, but it was more with school. My grades for sure took a dip that term, and that kind of was a big slap in the face. And so you learn more. I'm sure you guys, this happened to you guys too. You learn more, where to study, how to use your time efficiently, because as a student athlete, you really have much less time than everyone else, especially at Union, where you're only taking 3 classes. It's definitely accelerated, pace, but you only have 3 classes. So, on the baseball team, we have, depending on the year, we have 6 or 7 a.m. lifts. So, waking up early, prioritizing sleep, going to sleep early, and getting your work done, because if you got a 6 a.m. lift and then, breakfast and class, then, practice or whatever, that's a long day. That's a really long day. So you have to be efficient with the time that you have. But time management for sure has been it was a weakness of mine, and now I consider it a strength, just because, this situation on the baseball team and being a double major, it's a lot. It's a lot. So, which is great though. I like the challenge. That's why I do it. But you got to learn, or else, life's going to make you pay.
That's fair.
But all good now.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, exactly.
I honestly have no idea what I would do if I had 3-4 hours in the day of free time.
Yeah.
I don't think I would know what to do with it. I've always been just so busy balancing academics and athletics, and I was also a 3-sport only until JV for basketball as well. But it's always been a struggle, and it's always been something that has kept me on my toes, literally. I've just been running around with a 6 a.m. lift as well. It's such a struggle, but you learn a lot from it. You become a really productive, really motivated, really time managed, really strong work ethic person, and I think that that will really benefit me, and I think that is a really important life goal to learn through athletics. And I think that coming from high school to a semester to a trimester school is crazy.
Yeah.
It's definitely an adjustment, and the speed of Union along with it really pushes us to try and be super on top of it. And I think it's good so far. I think we're doing a pretty good job.
Doing all
I'd
right.
like to hope so. I'd like to think so. So
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, now adjusting into not being an athlete anymore, I've had days where I have a 3 or 4 hour span of kind of having free time, and it's weird because I'm I'm used to having my days planned out to a T. Every hour something different, going from class, running to lift to grab something to eat on the way, and eating in class and doing class. And sometimes you're up at 5:30 in the morning getting ready for lift practice, and then you're not gonna be back to your room until 10 o'clock at night. So I definitely understand how that goes. And one thing I've noticed not playing is I'm able to enjoy other things that I never really got to before. I've had the time I used to go lift on my own and on my own time and restructure my schedule. I'm able to really dive deeper into my classes or find other hobbies that I'm really into. Another thing's been this podcast. I've been doing a lot of outside work on that, and that takes a lot of time editing, going through. So it's interesting. At first, I didn't like it, having so much time really on my hands, and I felt like I was missing something. But I feel like soon, eventually, you find things to fill it with, and find new hobbies to research in, or just kind of get back into things you used to as a kid. I know as a kid, I felt like, I mean, I was very busy playing multiple sports, and but one thing I picked back up was reading. I read a lot more when I was a kid, and then as high school got crazy, didn't really get to, and now I've kind of gotten back into that. So
Nice.
it's definitely bittersweet. Yeah, I miss being in the rush sometimes, but sometimes I still am rushed with school, so it's kind of weird. It's an odd feeling, but
Yeah.
everyone's got to find their own place.
Yeah, I love being in season. You know, it's really fun and it's really exhilarating and it flies by so fast.
Yeah.
But I love being not in season also because I can pick up the little hobbies throughout the year. You know, I could get into the gym and go crazy for like 6 months, and then it would be season, and then you lock into the
Yeah.
season, and then you pick up another hobby. And I kind of like that balance, that like on and off switch. I feel like it like keeps it interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's important. Don't you guys have 2 games Saturday and 2 games Sunday?
This year?
Yeah.
No,
Oh, you
we're
changed
doing
it?
Friday, Saturday.
Oh,
this
you are
year.
too? That's
Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I know on the softball team, historically, they've had 2 games Saturday and 2 games Sunday.
That's
So
tough.
when you're
There's no
when they're
time.
in season, you just don't have a weekend. And
There's no
that's
time.
on top of
Yeah.
midweeks and practices and school. So
That's no joke.
Yeah.
it's a lot.
It's a
It's
big
lot.
commitment, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know there was. I knew it was double on Saturdays, but I didn't know it was Saturday
Yeah.
and Sunday.
Also Sunday.
That's
so
nuts.
I'm so excited for this Friday, Saturday
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah,
now.
league changed it to for us. We have 1 Friday and then 2 Saturdays. So now it's huge that we'll have Sundays, which is just a nice reset day. Because Mondays were our off days.
Yeah.
Last year and the year before, but it's not really an off day if you got school.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that you don't do school on Sunday this year, but
Go to class
it's going to be
Sundays.
really nice to take a deep breath, rest and recover and do all that stuff you need to do without the stress of waking up early, going to class, all that good stuff. So it's going to be really nice, I think.
One thing I thought about the football team that we did in season that the past coaches have done is that Sunday we'd come in, have to do work. We have a game on Saturday, but Sunday we'd come in, lift, film, kind of a small practice, and then Monday would be completely off. So it would be only school, the only school-related things, going to class, homework, meetings, stuff like that. Nothing football at all, which I thought was kind of nice. A lot of people had mixed feelings, being that they wanted that Sunday off. But like myself, I think I kind of liked it because I got to be a student and handle whatever I need to. If I know if I need to plan to see a professor or stuff like that, get work done. Monday was really huge, and then Tuesday get back onto it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting learning about how other sports handle that situation too, being in different seasons. But the next thing I want to get into is social isolation. Being a student athlete, like we were saying, schedules are pretty demanding. In season you're locked in, focused, and stuff flies by. Do you think that being an athlete holds you out from certain social events, or restricting inside and outside the season?
I mean, for us, and I think they have a similar schedule. We play, up to 40 games in I think a month and a half span. It's going to be a little bit more this year. We're starting a little bit earlier, but I think in the spring it's pretty restricting. We have had. We've had to miss out on Springfest the last couple of years, which isn't, it's not a huge deal, but I think that's the biggest thing that the team misses out on.
Yeah.
And we've lost both games, unfortunately, in those days. But I think generally speaking, no. I think it's not like there's a social void.
Yeah.
Because you're still getting to spend that time with some of your best friends. And you're still, busy with baseball, which theoretically is a sport that everyone loves still.
Yeah.
Which is great. So I think that just because you're busy with games or practices doesn't necessarily mean there's like space to be filled or a void to be filled necessarily. But I would say it's definitely a little bit different in season.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And I feel especially, you create those bonds with those teammates too, so that helps a lot too. Especially playing football. Coming here in August, those were my friends when I came in freshman year. I made a bunch of connections, and those were the people I would go out and hang out with. So eventually, you get all on the same schedule too, which I think is important about being on a team.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with you, and I think our teams do a really good job of, we get together a lot of times throughout the year to make sure that we, we're still hanging out and we're still making connections and getting close. And we do a lot together as a team. Gonna do we're gonna do like dinners before games and
That's
stuff,
awesome.
and I'm really
Nice.
excited for that. And last term we did an ice cream night, and that was
Nice.
fun. We did like a Sundays night, so we always try and do like cute and fun things like that to try and stay close and try and do fun things that we can do with our schedule. And so we really try and make that a big part of our scheduling as well. So I don't think at all that we miss out on much. I mean, the season is obviously really taxing, and we also miss out on Spring Fest, but we do make up for it with our team events that we have as well.
I will say this past year, Deo was at Springfest, right? And so since we controlled the music at our park, we just played Deo throughout every
We played Float Ride at our field
There
during
you
it.
go. That's awesome. Need that off season to get better, but how do you feel the recovery is for your sports?
I think it's definitely different for pitchers in baseball and softball.
Mhm.
I mean, Milk can go out and throw 6 innings on Saturday and then do it again on Sunday.
Yeah.
If I throw 6 innings on Saturday, I'm down for the count for the next for the next few days.
Yeah.
But for me it depends on the week. Sometimes I'll throw 90 pitches and I'll it feels like I threw 130. Which has happened. But I think it's just about finding what's right for you.
Yeah.
For me, I barely throw it all the day after. For some guys, they like to throw a lot the day after just to make sure their arm is still working as it should. Make sure you get your lifts in season. I think off season is different just because it's lower intensity.
Yeah.
Like for Saturday I guess Friday this year. I try to really, really lock in, but it's different in the off season. You still want to have that intensity, but it's just different if you're going up against your friends. But I think really it's whatever works for you. Not maybe something that I do isn't going to work for someone else, and what they do may not work for me. So I think it's just making sure that you're first of all staying healthy, getting into the trainer's room, even if it's just to heat or ice bath or whatever, simple stuff like that. And making sure you're taking care of what's not feeling great. Because if you let something go and then try to push it off, it might come back and bite you in the behind in a couple months or weeks or whatever it is. But I think just staying on top of your health is huge.
Yeah, it's key.
I think that it is really important to have that off season as that recovery time as well.
Mm-hmm.
The winter workouts are pretty brutal. I mean, for a pitcher, I'm sure Chris understands how tough those winter workouts can be with the coaches. But it is a really important time to rest and recover and take care of your body. I go home and I go to PT, and he fixes me, tweaks me up for 6 weeks, and then sends me on my way for the season.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having that balance is really important, and also listening to your body when you know that something may not be feeling right and you are injured. Speaking up and saying that this feels wrong is important. And the trainers here are great, and they are super helpful. And I think it's really important. I mean, I have been really lucky to not be injury prone. I mean, until I got to college, but it is a balance, and it's really important to push through. And I think we're making it work.
Good.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I feel like being a student athlete with all those pressures, it's a lot to kind of judge whether, is this too much? Do you need to dial it back a little bit? Or are you just fine, Being an athlete, I've had a lot of injuries throughout my career, being broken arms, ligaments tearing in my feet, or just shoulder issues. It's a hard line because I feel like almost that the college sports have turned into when you're hurt, it's the next person up. And it's hard. You don't want to let that opportunity go or give someone else your opportunity. So it's something I feel like a lot of people don't judge where, hey, it's okay if you're not feeling good. It's all right to, get looked at or take a step back and not push it. Or you said, like, it could bite you and behind if you're not careful about it. So something about students or student athletes feel that get that pressure from the coaches. But it seems like it's glad that doesn't seem to be the pressure in your guys' sports from your coaches, which is good to know, for
Yeah.
people out there.
Yeah, Coach Gableman has been great
Yeah.
for us. He's, the first to ask you how you're doing every morning. He'll tell you what to do if something's not feeling right. Make sure that you're still getting work in. If something's not right, get on a bike, get your cardio in. And like we both said, our training staff is great. So, at a school like Union, you're gonna have that support system to help you with those things. So I think it's really important to, listen to yourself, but you have the resources needed to get you back on track, which is really nice.
That's good. The next thing I want to talk about is academic and athletic pressure and performance you guys have as being athletes. Do you feel like you struggle having it, other students just have to deal with the academic side of it? Are there any outside factors that you have to push out or kind of keep your head straight? Is there anything you say to yourself to keep you in that mindset?
Yeah, I try to like kind of before I go to bed, think about the day that I had, what went wrong, what went right, and then just kind of think about and tell myself, just positive affirmations, even if it was a bad day. Everyone has bad days, but I think it's really important to go to bed with a steady mind. I think that's huge. So last year I had literally the worst start of my the past 5 years that I can remember, and it was terrible. It was awful. But you have to be able to let it go.
Yeah.
Because what's happened, and you can't change it. You wish you could, but you can't. You have to be able to, be a goldfish, take things off, and look forward to the next opportunity.
Yeah.
In college athletics, it is kind of cutthroat. Sometimes you get a shot, and if you don't make the most of it, then you're not going to get another one.
Exactly.
But if you are lucky enough to get another shot, you can't keep thinking about what's hindered you in the past. You got to just go get it. So yeah, I think there's a lot of outside voices telling you what you're doing good, what you're doing bad. People trying to help you might not help you necessarily, but kind of like we were saying earlier, you just got to listen to yourself and make sure that you are your number one
priority.
Yeah, exactly. You got to put yourself first and listen to yourself. I think it's really important to have that voice inside of you telling you, what you did right, what you did wrong, and be able to move on.
Yeah.
Whether you performed well or poorly.
I love the goldfish, the 10-second memory, like from, I don't know if you guys seen Ted Lasso, but it's a great idea of, whatever happened, the last pitch, the last play, you got to forget it and go forward and only address things that are coming up.
Yeah, it's a huge thing for pitchers. I'm sure you've been told something like that before. Because if someone, ropes a double off you or, God forbid you let up a nuke, a homer, then, you got to shake it off, even if the ball's still in orbit.
Yeah, keep going.
Get the next one and move on,
Yeah, my dad always said it was like water off a duck's back.
Oh,
That's
there you
what
go.
that was his one.
I remember that one.
I think you could honestly apply that all to academics as well.
Yeah.
And you fail a test you didn't think you were going to fail, you got to accept it and push forward and try and get better and do better on the next exam as well. And I think as athletes, that is definitely a struggle, more so. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of things going on, and ours just is athletics, but we have a great support system as well, and I think we are always going to have homework on the bus. I mean, I remember I was going freshman year, I had like a huge bio final, and we were going to Rochester playoffs at Rochester, and it's definitely a balance, but that also wraps into like having that time management and having that work ethic. So I think that's it's really pushing us through it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely being just a student or an athlete or together, running through both is you have to be willing to accept your failures and move on past it. Some people can struggle with, freaking out if you had a bad exam, but you still have another shot to keep going, or it's not always over yet. Might be something else you could do or keep going forward for the next one. It's all about how you set your mindset, project yourself forward.
Yeah, and I think Mel touched on this a little bit earlier, but being a student athlete will teach you lessons for life. Time management,
exactly,
being able to lead, being able to move on from things that you know, you might not want to move on from, whether that's good or bad.
Yeah.
Being able to have a bad day and wake up the next day and believe it's going to be your best one yet. I think that's like what I've tried to talk to some guys about. Like, you know, God, you have a test and you had lift this morning and all this. It's you know, short term, yeah, it's for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Long term, it's for life.
Yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of things going on, right? Not just college. You know, big picture, people want to come back and be in college because of times like this, because it teaches you how to do things, how to handle situations that, you know, you might not want to handle right now, but they're going to help you out later in life. So I forgot to touch on it earlier, but when you were saying like time management, you know, when you have a job, when you're a parent, right? Like things in your future far from now, but what you do now is gonna help what you're gonna do in the future.
Exactly. I felt like sports for me when I was a kid have taught me so much, and the skills. I'm so grateful that I've been a part of it, and it makes me who I am today. And there's still, you know, days I go through, and I have the mentality of being being an athlete, and you know, having to get things done. Time management and leadership is huge. I feel like it's a huge quality, especially when you're going out looking for jobs. You know, and people on your resume, or will see your resume and see that you've worked in sports, and you understand how it is to work with a team, and work with others, and be a leader. You know, or understand your position, which is, you know, not a lot of people get to have that experience, or eventually at a certain time they will.
Yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about is being student athletes on the campus, walking around in classrooms. Do you feel that being an athlete makes you feel different in the classroom? Are you treated differently, or how's your aspect of being a student athlete on this campus?
Thankfully, I have not had any negative experiences. If anything, I think professors have supported me. I know it's
awesome.
Not the case for everyone, but you know, freshman year I got an email from Professor Hayes. If you're watching, thank you so much for the email. It made my day. But I was lucky enough to be awarded Pitcher of the Week for the league, and I opened up my email and he says, "Congrats! You know, this is awesome."
That's awesome.
And that was really great. But as far as expectations, just in case, you know, people kind of see you with the target on your back, I think it's really important for you to exceed those expectations, and you know, it's a two-sided coin. You know, on one side it's, oh well, you have more going on, that's why it might be okay to get, you know, worse grades because you had to wake up early for this and you had, you know, prepare for a game like this. But on the other side, it's, you know, you have to be a leader in everything you do. People look up to you, right? So you have to be able to perform even with those other those other things that, you know, make up your day that make it so busy. So they're not excuses, right? That's exactly right. So I think that my mentality is that, you know, even with all the extra baggage that you have compared to, you know, some other people, it's more motivating to do well.
Nice.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with that. I have never had a negative experience on campus because I was an athlete.
Yeah.
And I've only had positive experiences, and I agree with what you said. I think it's I think it has taught us a lot for sure, and I think it's honestly it's a little community in and of itself. All of like the athletes on campus.
Yeah,
we all kind of support each other, and we always do the athletes for athletes games, which are really nice.
Men's
and
basketball at 7:30.
Yeah.
There you go.
So I think there's definitely a positive as well as negative as well, but I have gratefully only experienced the positives of being an athlete.
That's great. You know, everyone has different experience, and it's good to know that, you know, professors have your back or supportive, you know, in that way, and other students on campus, you know, some may look up to you, some might think differently because you're an athlete, or some might just be, you know, treat you as if you're no different, which is, you know, what you obviously hope for. But it's good to know that, you know, the professors on here on campus support athletes. I feel like one thing when I came into sports at a very young age is that a third of the people are going to like you, a third of people are not going to care, and a third of people are going to hate you. So it's interesting to hear other athletes' aspects. Do you feel like you have a target on your back, or do you have a certain pressure to do well because you have everything else going on? But it's odd because, you know, depending on the class, depending on the teacher, it's all different. Everyone's story is different, and they wake up and no one knows what it's like to be in your shoes except yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I think for us it might be a little different, but we have to miss class a bunch during the season. Maybe not a bunch, but you know, if we're, I think last year we shipped up to Middlebury on a Wednesday, and a lot of people couldn't make it because they had class.
yeah.
Or they couldn't make their class because they were going to the game. And, you know, again, thankfully, professors understand for the most part. I know some of my friends don't have or hadn't had the luxury of having understanding teachers, but regardless of missing the game, you're still going to have to take the test on the same day. You're
Yeah,
still going to have
exactly.
to, you know, learn from the class that you weren't there from. You have to get the notes from someone. You have to, you know, go to office hours to make sure you really understand. So there's more that you have to do than I think people realize. And even some people I hear like, oh, you know, the D1 hockey players, like they have tutors. No, they don't. Like we're in class with them.
Yeah.
They do not have tutors. They have to do it themselves.
Exactly.
So, you know, maybe at some of the bigger SEC schools, yeah, they have people
That's
that help them
different,
out.
Yeah.
But everyone still has to go through the same stuff, regardless of being a student athlete or not.
Yeah. Exactly.